Two.
Okay. I believe we're live. We didn't do an intro video and
I
all
was
that.
waiting for one. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't think about. Yeah, I don't think we need to tonight because it's not like a normal program. Um, but I just want to welcome everyone tonight. I hope you all have a wonderful. Uh, no, I don't want to stream to my other destination. S- sorry, this thing comes up. I get this notice that comes up. What I would like to do, though, before we get started, is whenever I'm hosting a program, I like to begin with a word of prayer.
Amen.
So, if we may go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Lord, I just want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity that you have given us to talk about the things of you and your word and how you created us miraculously and wonderfully, Lord. And I thank you for giving us the opportunity to discuss this with one another. I pray that all those who are watching will be ministered to and will be blessed, and that their hearts will be touched. I pray if anyone out there doesn't know you, that you will, that your spirit will touch their hearts through this broadcast, through what they see and hear tonight, Lord. I just give you all the praise and the glory and the honor. You alone are worthy, Lord. No one else but you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
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 All right. Does one of you want to start? Maybe give an opening statement. Is that how you want to do it?
I think it's always best to have at least a short opening statement.
Okay.
Achilles, you're welcome to go first.
No, you go first. You are more fresh right now, so give me something to work with.
Yes, to all of those in the audience or those who may watch this after the fact, after it's live, where Achilles is at in the world, it is very, very late. So we all need to be very patient with him because he was kind enough to stay up late to do this discussion. So the other day, he and I were having sort of a brief commentary on my fascination with Darwinian worldview as far as biology is concerned. And it's my understanding that Achilles is sort of a staunch anti-Darwinian. And of course, anybody who knows me knows that I have a great interest in modern biology. And so I'm fairly versed as a laity in Charles Darwin's theory, as well as some of the modern neo-Darwinian views of it, genetics, etc. And I feel as though all of the scientific fields in their advancing reveal spiritual things by types, shadows, and allegories. And so human beings discover things and advance their knowledge, advance their technology, broaden their horizons of understanding. And God allows that to make evident the advancing spiritual revelation. This is what Paul taught when he said the natural things make evident the spiritual things. And so when Charles Darwin first realized that the selection process was taking place not only under the guidance of human beings, but also in nature itself in a seemingly blind process called survival of the fittest, natural selection. These days, we refer to it sometimes as descent with inherent modification. When he realized that that was taking place without the guidance of human beings, that it was actually taking place in nature, then it's my understanding that God allowed him to realize that, to testify spiritually of the changing creature that is the child of God. The Bible speaks of this vile, corruptible image being changed into the glorious image of the Son of God. And so I believe that the evolutionary process naturally represents what is taking place spiritually with the glorification of the sons of God being changed from a temporal life into an eternal life. So I am not an evolutionist because it's my understanding that the modern term evolutionist means that one believes in the naturalistic origins of life, i.e., abiogenesis, and that one believes that all life forms that use DNA are necessarily related. I do not believe that. I believe in special creation because the book of Genesis teaches special creation, and I believe in the book of Genesis. However, I think that many of the things that are purported by young earth creationists are not supported by the scriptures and are in stark contrast with what we know to be true. And the Bible says the truth will make you free. So if we know something is true and we have every reason to believe that it's accurate, and we have an adverse reaction to that rather than trying to understand it, I think that's foolish. So I'll leave my opening statement at that.
Okay. That's a clear position because it clearly states that there is no common ancestor for man, because I think that is ridiculous to believe. We have so many differences that there is no way, unless somebody is talking about such a spiritual growth that starts from whatever, a banana, and ends up to earning heaven. So I believe this is completely absurd. But sticking to what I've heard, the definition that you gave, I think that there is a little bit of misunderstanding concerning what Darwin actually did. I will admit that I haven't read his book, but I know part of his history and things that he has said in his book. I know the quotes where he is clearly stating that the books he took with him on this infamous journey he did to the Galapagos Islands shook his faith. So he wrote a book to explain how his faith was changed from believing in Christ, as he went in a Bible college and he has a preacher's degree. He's not a biologist. He's not a geologist, but he spoke of both these things, influenced by books of Hutton and not Haeckel. The other one was Lyell, who I like to call Liar. So he went on that journey, and he picked up his Bible because he had just graduated from the Bible college, and he picked up a couple of books. One of them was from a lawyer who was speaking of the geologic column. So I have noticed too, because before arriving at the Bible, because I didn't start with the Bible, I have a scientific degree, and I am lucky enough to be in Greece, where when I had my education in the United States, I realized that the university level of the United States concerning the basic classes, and when I say basic, I mean the core classes, which is biology, physics, algebra, geometry, all these are at the level of high school. So I learned in high school what the mitochondria is, and I had to be examined in order to finish the class on every single thing that exists inside a cell. So for me, this is not university level knowledge, but if you majored in it, I guess they would teach me more. But rolling back, that was a little bit of an intro. Rolling back, when I arrived before I arrived at the Bible, I've read like a lot of books. So when I read one book, I look out in the world and I see the world reflecting these thoughts that I just had from that book. And I think that that's what Darwin did too. He got influenced, as he states in his book, he got influenced from people who were not only atheists, but they hated the Bible, and they went far into scoffing the Bible in their books. And he states that they made my faith shake. And he looked up and he noticed that there are some birds that go back to one bird. And that created a whole. I can give more details, but I'm like it has to do with their beaks. That he noticed that each single island has one of those birds that has a different size beak from the others. So from that fact, he created this big evolutionary tree that everything relates to each other. So I will create another evolutionary tree, and then I'm gonna pass the floor, which is having a lot of atheists who combined create this picture of an alternative to the Bible. Now, I don't know if they were writing letters to each other or if it happened as a de-evolution, not an evolution, a de-evolution from the spirit to believing in things creating themselves. Um, but it has resulted in a full picture, which if you look at every single detail of that picture, all of them are lies. So the picture might look like okay, but if you focus on each one of the aspects, every single one of them is a lie. Some have been proven lies. Some people have lost their university degree, like Haeckel, I think is pronounced, but they are still in our books, and I've been taught the same. And I think this is completely destroying people's faith, just as it happened back then with Darwin. I pause. Your turn, my friend. I gave you a lot.
Yes. No, I like this format of going back and forth like this, if this works for you.
Yeah, fine.
So I've got two things to say at this point in the conversation. Thing number one is a full-blown evolutionary position, though I don't take one. I am a
Yep.
special creationist. But a full-blown evolutionary position based upon everything that we know about biology to be true in the light of modern genetics is perfectly reasonable. And if I was an atheist, I would certainly be an evolutionist. The only reason I'm not is because I believe in the Bible, because the position is perfectly reasonable in the light of the information that we have. The idea of arbitrarily inserting a magic line in the sand from which animals cannot cross, no matter how much they adapt, under any level of scrutiny completely falls apart. The second thing I wanted to say,
Explain, because I don't understand what falls apart.
the
What?
idea of arbitrarily inserting a line that creatures cannot adapt beyond. Some people call it speciation, whatever you want to call it. But the
Okay.
anti-evolutionist position argues typically that there's a very limited range of possible modifications within any given species.
Okay, and that falls apart.
Yes.
Maybe I'm understanding it wrong. So you are saying that there is no relation between species.
No, what I'm saying is that the case against a complete Darwinian worldview is
Mhm.
made through faith in the Bible and not through the naturalistic evidences. Because you could take and very easily make full blown macroevolution apparent to anybody based on the evidence. So, the reason that I don't believe in all DNA based life having common ancestry is just simply because the scriptures speak of special creation. It's not
So,
because the evidence leads one to believe that they do have common ancestry.
oh no, I think okay. I think I need to respond to this first point because I
Sure.
think it's big to allow a second one to come in. I think that all this transgression is faked. We have never observed it, and science is something you can observe. I mean, we have observed, according to Mendel's laws, that if I take a white rose and and a red rose, the next rose is gonna be there is a type which you cross cross lines between the genes, and you can have exact percentages of what the next roses are gonna be. Like it's gonna be 25% white, 25% red, and 50% pink roses. So up to that point, I agree, it is observable. We have even laws about it. But going to mutations that will bring something new, some evolvement, uh, I think not only we've never observed it, but we have billions of examples that disprove it all over nature.
We could settle for just one.
Okay. Um, um, from the top of my head, like I haven't even heard this in somebody talking about it, but it's something that has bugged me. So I have, if you swim for a lot of hours, your fingers become they make these lines. If you stay in the water for many hours, your fingertips get these lines. They become like
I think they call it pruning or something. They get pruned. Pruning.
Okay, thank you, thank you. English is not my main for anyone that's listening, so
Yeah, that's fine.
I need some help sometimes. So this happens because your body understands that you are drowning, and it's giving you the ability to grab a rock easier and not slip on a rock. So if that has evolved, is a mutation that has evolved, how can it evolve if people drowned?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Achilles.
Okay, if Ryan understands it, maybe he can
I
help.
know what you mean, Achilles. You mean like if that ability of your skin to prune like that evolved, then what happened to all the people who didn't have that ability up to that point? They all just drowned.
So
Oh,
how
okay.
can,
Question now. Okay, can I answer the question?
yeah. So how can that evolve? Like where somebody else watching the one that drowned, and immediately his DNA said, "Oh, wait, I need to be smarter than that guy because the guy drowned."
Well, Achilles,
Yeah.
are you aware that biologists teach that mutation is a random process?
Well, if it is a random process, then it is not evolution. Because evolution, but what I understand is you are evolving to something better. If it is a completely random process, then I
What do
could
you, well, that's a bit of a misconception. I think that's part of the problem here is the definition of evolution, because there's really no such thing as better or worse. It's just whatever is more fittest in the current environment.
fittest. So I will call the fittest in the better environment better. But if it's random, if it is random, then it doesn't relate to the environment. It can
Well,
be. It
well,
can
that's
be
why I
both.
say that I think you may be misunderstanding what evolution is, because it really does. If you have a population of animals and there's several random mutations, and some of those mutations are more favorable in a given environment than others, that's what survival of the fittest is.
Okay, so let's stick to that. So if I have a group of 100 monkeys, and two of them evolve something, okay, in the group of 100, they have a mutation. Won't that mutation get lost when the other 100 mate? Shouldn't
Well, the
shouldn't
idea,
all,
well, the idea of survival of the fittest is that the ones that get to mate are the ones that have the favorable mutations.
so a random mutation will favor these two, and the others randomly will not get that. So that is not survival of the fittest. This is survival of the luckiest.
Sure.
Okay. So I don't know. From the way I understand it, I think the theory fails just
Why?
by
Evidence
just
why it fails.
because if we have if something rapidly changes in the environment and the species has to adapt to it, that cannot be random.
Well, typically when things rapidly change, the species do not adapt to it. Most of the examples that we have in history of rapid environmental change lead to extinction events.
Okay. Okay. I think I don't have something to add. We can go to the second point, or I can try to respond to why I think this is still not evolution because it is random.
Well, what I would like to do, since we've been kind of doing this going back and forth thing, I would like to
Yeah.
take just a few minutes to just sort of lay out my understanding of the modern accepted evolutionary process for the viewers.
Okay.
I think of people obviously need to understand that, right? So the modern accepted process of evolution is descent with inherent modification. And so what that means, descent, of course, is ancestry, lineages, you coming from your parents. And inherent modifications are mutated genes that you inherit from your parents. So you're inherently modified because the gene code is not copied with complete fidelity. But with every single copy, it is altered. It's necessarily altered because it's not copied with a 100% fidelity. So whatever is different from your parents, you're modified from them with whatever has changed. So the process is that in any given environment, every child that is born in a population inherits certain genetic changes and similarities from their parents, and that next generation goes out into the present environment. And some of those modified genes were more favorable than others. And so the ones that happen to be more favorable are the ones that get to eat and mate and pass their genes down to the next generation. And so through several successive lines, these changes become so pronounced that you see morphological changes in populations of animals. That is the process of Darwinian evolution.
All right, good. I can respond to it biologically, but I think my favorite approach on this now would be is something a little bit completely different, which is to make a comparison of how this theory has created a world right now.
Oh, yeah,
where-
that was part two. Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
where people consider I've been facing that for, if I was 100 years old, I would say I've been facing it for 100 years, but I'm only 42, so I will say I started facing it like 20 or 25 years ago. People go to gyms and they man up, and when somebody's girlfriend sees them, he plays like his eyes with her and stuff like that, and when she sees those muscles, she too will feel like, well, in case something would happen, he is the fittest and he will better protect me, so she goes to him. And if you ask your friend, why did you do that to me, he has the mentality that this is all over nature. It is survival of the fittest. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to be the one to have babies and you not. And I consider this to be a result of this process that you described. And it has completely destroyed the ethics of the Bible. And because there is no other book with ethics, it's the Bible. And I think people have this excuse that they see it on Animal Planet, and Animal Planet and Discovery Channel and National Pornographic, they all have channels and they all have millions of dollars invested. And when you watch a documentary, they keep talking about these processes of evolutionary processes and natural selection and survival of the fittest, and people have been brainwashed with them, and it has completely destroyed our society. So I will admit this was not the right response, but I'm just showing it to you to give you a hint of where this is going, and that's why it started.
Yeah. Can I take a minute to make my second point? Because it ties into exactly what you just said.
10
I'm
minutes.
actually glad that you
Go
said
on.
that, because I had sort of forgotten the point and you brought it back to my memory.
Okay.
This is a bit lengthy, so if I get too long, Ryan, please cut me off. But I do think this is important to make this clear, because Achilles makes a fantastic point here. Achilles, I agree with you that
Okay.
the discovery of Darwinian processes in nature has led to a justification of callousness. I agree with you. I believe that it has been misused. I believe people like Adolf Hitler were very, very
Evil evolutionists.
I'm sorry, I had to shut the kids up. I believe that
Okay.
people like Adolf Hitler grossly used that information to their own advantage. Now, this is the next thing I wanted to say, which is point number 2. In regards to what is true, that doesn't matter. Henry Ford helped to develop automobiles, and automobiles really work. It didn't make him a good person, didn't make him a bad person. What Charles Darwin's research leads to as far as world atrocities has absolutely no bearing whatsoever on whether it's true. And I care about what is true. Natural selection is a fact, and he is the one that discovered it.
Okay, but am I interrupting you?
No, please go ahead.
Okay. Now, this is a big statement, and everybody says it. That is a fact. Now, a fact needs to be supported. We can't have facts without evidence behind it. And whenever you start questioning evolution, you get, oh no, evolution is a fact. But how is it a fact
Well,
if
I said
every
natural selection is a fact.
oh, natural selection, okay. I think natural selection is a fact. I will not say it is not, but mutations, um, we haven't observed good mutations. We have observed random mutations,
What do
and
you
we
mean when
have,
you say good?
um, for
Because we have
example,
certainly observed advantageous mutations. I mean, that's what he observed with the finches in Galapagos, were advantageous mutations.
but up to a small scale, like
Doesn't really matter the scale, though. I mean, if they're advantageous, then they're good.
which is adapting to an environment.
Correct.
Okay, which happens through generations. It doesn't happen immediately. It happens from generation to generation.
Yes, we call
But
that evolution by natural selection.
they are up to a point where, let's say, if I'm not restricted by space, I cannot grow to a giant. There are some limits to that. But if I was, or if I am thrown in the water and I have to stay in the water forever and I have to mate in the water, I don't think my feet are gonna grow bigger so I can swim better. I
You
think
mean
there
you
there
as
are
one
limits. Me
individual
as a human.
but you
I'm,
as one individual specimen. Because of course
yes,
it does not
or
teach
my
individuals.
children. Okay, sorry, didn't hear you.
Evolution does not teach that individual specimens adapt or change.
Oh no, I mean my children or my children's children. I'm bringing that lousy environment, example of an environment to make it extreme, to make my point more clear that if I was able to mate in water because the world has flooded or something like that, I don't think my feet would adapt, or not mine, the humanity's feet would adapt to something different in order to swim. I think this is very far-fetched because there
Are you
is some
aware that people are born with webbed feet sometimes?
with web feet. There are other things we don't understand too,
Well,
but
hold on.
that's not for them to swim better.
Well, let me make this point. We agree that sometimes people are born with webbed feet, which means they have a skin membrane in between their toes. Sometimes webbed hands. It's a disease. They have to go cut the membrane out, etc. We view it as a disease because it's not advantageous for our current lifestyle. But what if you had a scenario like the one that you described, and people who were born with that mutation had an advantage? That would literally prove that what you're saying right now is wrong.
Yeah, but I think it is, as you said, a random mutation, and it didn't come from their environment.
Well, that's not what evolution suggests. They are always random mutations, but some of them are more advantageous in a given environment than others.
Yeah, but I think you are evading the fact that your environment is the beaks that Darwin observed had to do with the different environments that the birds were. For example, the ones
That's actually not true. The birds had random mutations, and some of those mutations were able to get food better in that environment. And so that chain of mutations was successive. The environment itself did not dictate the mutations.
Well, if on one island you have stronger seeds that you have to have a stronger beak to break them, the ones that survived will be the ones that had the ability to break the seed.
Correct.
Okay, so
Do
on
you
the
believe
case,
that? Do you believe that that happens?
I believe that happens,
Okay.
but they are using this little fact to explain and create a very big theory that goes all the way back to the Big Bang, and it is a unified theory. It is a unified theory, and it comes from this little fact, which is titled microevolution or favorable mutations. That's what we have observed. We have observed that, but bless you.
That was Tammy. Sorry, I'll
Yeah.
mute my
Okay.
mic. I
Don't
apologize.
worry. Don't worry. God bless. Is it she or a boy? Girl?
It's my wife. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I was big for a child. Okay, God bless her. So the mutation that you described with the webbed feet, it does not relate to their environment. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Well, what I was saying was that none of them do. The fact that some birds were born with a mutation that gave their beaks the ability to crack harder seeds was random. But because that randomness happened to be effective in that environment, that was the one that was passed down successively, and so it was exasperated to morphological changes. That's the thing I've been
Okay.
saying this whole time, and that is a fact.
Okay. Yes, this part is a fact. And it is everything we have observed. We haven't observed all the other parts that connect to that and create this big theory, which is being taught in schools, even in my school and in universities. Like I have a biology book right here, and it teaches every other part of evolution, and it bases it on that specific little fact that we have random mutations, and these random mutations in the favorable environment will help survival of the fittest. I understand that, and nobody disagrees with that. This is a
That's
fact.
really all I'm here to defend, to be honest with you.
Okay, I do think this is possible, but it is not enough to prove common ancestry, but this is what the book of Darwin does.
Well, the original book on the origin of species speculates very lightly about common ancestry. It was actually Darwin's later writings, if I remember correctly, that sort of made bold statements about common ancestry. He didn't publish The Descent of Man until his wife passed away because she was a devout Christian. A lot of folks know that, but it's interesting because I don't. The thing I always ask people, especially who are in the young Earth creationist, anti-Darwin camp, is where do you draw the line? Where do you think that biology has this arbitrary boundary where morphology becomes impossible? Where do you draw that line and why?
I didn't catch one word. Where morphology, you said.
Are you one of the people that is of the opinion that there's a limit to morphological change that we can predict and that things will not go past that limit through the process of natural selection?
Yes, I do.
How do you determine that, and what do you think that limit is and why? I just want to understand and pick your brain a little bit.
Okay. If I'm trying to figure an example to give,
Sure.
Every species has been designed by a common designer, and it has its limits, so it cannot go further.
But further than what, though?
Further to one example that comes in my head, and I'm not sure how to use it, but it did pop in my head. So let me start there. Is that if you cross a horse with a donkey, you get a mule.
Okay.
But the mule is sterile. It cannot crossbreed.
Well,
It
cross
cannot.
isn't
It,
exactly.
no, it cannot breed.
It's
It's sterile. It can't breed. I'm sorry, not crossbreed. It can't breed. It's sterile.
no. The point I was making was that's not exactly an example of evolutionary change, crossbreeding.
Oh, yes. So that's why I corrected the word. Oh, you mean the original crossbreeding between
No,
the
the idea of
horse?
crossbreeding these animals to produce a different animal is not really what we're discussing. That's a different process altogether. We're discussing why you feel like that there's a limit on the amount of change that an animal can have and what you determine that limit to be and why. Like, for instance, do you believe that ancient horses had more than one toe?
I don't know what I believe on that specific issue to say I believe this or that. I think fossils do show that they had more.
Well, my point in saying that is, like, if they find fossilized horses that have 3 toes and 5 toes, etc., and they find them in what appears to be a successive change over to the current modern one-toed horse,
It has
do
been
you
proven
accept that
fake.
those are probably the ancestors of the one-toed horse?
No, not ancestors, because it has been proven fake. This specific example has been proven fake and
No,
has been taken out of museums, but there
no.
are museums that still have it. and it doesn't prove evolution. It
That was
proves
my question was, do you believe that the multi-toed horses gave rise to the single-toed horses? Do you believe that's possible?
no. I
Do you
believe
think God just created a bunch of different horses with different
yes,
numbers of toe?
yes.
Isn't that a bit of a cop-out, though?
What? You're breaking out on specific words, and that makes it hard for me to understand your question when you ask something.
Okay, I apologize. Can you hear me now?
Okay. Yeah. So I said yes. I do believe that they all got tangled up and mangled up during the flood, and we don't find them in specific sequence. It
But
has been.
why do you believe that? Why don't you believe that a five-toed horse could change into a one-toed horse? Why don't you believe that?
Because I believe that the flood really took everything and made it into a big tumbler, and then when the waters got away, they all got stuck in the mud, dead, and then we humans pick them up and tell people that we picked them up on that order.
No, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking, why do you feel that that kind of morphological change violates the Bible, that a five-toed horse could give rise to a one-toed horse? Why do you feel that that's an anti-scriptural thing?
No, I didn't say it's an anti-scriptural thing. I think saying that something is not true and saying that it is when you know it's a lie, that is non-scriptural, because we are supposed to never lie and
Not
not
a
bear
lie.
false witness.
Everybody in these fields believes that. You're the outlier.
I can take a minute and look it up.
I'm not
Because
trying to be rude. I'm just asking, why do you think that that is the wrong thing to believe? What is it inside of you that stops you from thinking, well, yeah, maybe that's possible?
there are things that can happen, but for example, there are some humans who have been born with six fingers, but this is not the norm.
Sure.
This is a random mutation,
Right.
and if something happened and all people were put under the ground, and somebody later picks them up and say, oh, look, we found a six fingered human, so probably this one was the ancestor. This is a lie, because what happened was the flood, and we have evidence for the flood. We have found Noah's Ark, and we are still wondering, how did everything get underground?
Achilles, I don't mean to cut you off, but that really wasn't my
No.
question. My
Yeah.
question is, why do you have such a conservative position on the possibilities of morphological change over successive generations? Why do you have such a conservative position on that?
Because that is a big change from five-fingered horses to one finger. It's a big change. It's not like it's not like one finger to
Well, it's
say
certainly
that.
a big change. I agree with you, but don't you think to say that every time we discover species that had these variations, to say that God must have made another one that was kind of just like them, don't you think that that's a little bit anti-scientific?
I think it is completely logical that after the flood, we don't have all the animals that existed pre-flood. We can find fossils if we dig deep. We can find fossils, and the deeper we dig, we say that that's the ancestor. So there is, for example, this is not, I don't even believe in it, but it is being discussed. And I do keep my eyes open since the times that I considered myself a scientist. And then I arrived at the Bible. That taught me to be more open minded, because I wasn't. So they are saying, if you look at legends of the unicorn, every legend of the unicorn says that you couldn't approach a unicorn and you could never contain one. So there are jokes about what happened with the unicorns. But if you couldn't approach one and you couldn't contain one, how could it be in the ark? So there is even a chance that unicorns existed. I'm keeping an open mind in the things that I can't have proof of. I hear theories.
unicorn is a particularly impossible thing. I mean, there's many animals that are shaped kind of like horses that have horns, so that's not really a very unique thing to believe in. I do
But
think the Old
it's considered fantasy. Sorry, you did break out, and I spoke over you because you broke out. So I'm
Brian,
sorry.
am I bringing up to you?
I'm sorry, what was that, Christian?
Am I going in and out to you?
No, you sound to me perfectly clear.
Okay, I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure the audience knows.
Yeah, breaking
Yeah.
out here.
Okay, what I was trying to say, and I'll slow down a little bit. A unicorn is really a perfectly plausible animal, but really in the Old Testament, when it uses the word unicorn, I believe the etymology of that word actually means rhinoceros.
Okay. I have found other places where the ancient text of a dinosaur have been changed to rhinoceros. I
Say that
have
again,
found,
sorry.
yeah. I have found other places in the Bible where it talks of not the Leviathan, but I don't remember the name of the beast, of the specific beast, but I
Behemoth?
have which one? Behemoth.
Behemoth?
Thank you.
Behemoth, yes.
Okay, I have the Greek, and the Greek mistranslates it from the Hebrew to a rhinoceros. So
I've never heard
y-
that.
yes. The Greek translation of the ancient one is saying dragon,
Okay.
and there is a parenthesis in the Greek translation of the Greek of the Hebrew that says it means the rhinoceros. So I just want to point out that I can look up the word unicorn to see if they do the same here,
No, well, that's the
because
reason I started out by saying that a unicorn is a perfectly plausible animal. I mean,
yeah,
when you
I
get
heard
those
that.
kind of animals in nature, there's such a diversity of them that discovering a unicorn fossil would not really surprise biologists, in my opinion.
But I mentioned it because just because it is considered today mythological and something of a fantasy, that doesn't mean that it is not it hadn't existed. So you're saying it's plausible. Okay, it's possible that it existed.
He said
Uh,
narwhals exist. Mark Reed said narwhals exist.
I don't even know what a narwhal is.
It's this crazy male.
Narwhals swimming in the ocean.
Oh,
They're
okay.
crazy. Yeah.
So my point, I guess, is that everything has tumbled with each other, and then you have humans who tell you, I'm the scientist, I'm going to tell you what happened, and I tell you that I found it this deep. So this means that the other one above it is not the ancestor, the opposite of
I
an ancestor.
understand. You're saying
So
that you distrust the geologic column. I understand that, and that's a conversation to have all in itself. But I guess my question to you that I'm more interested in is, you seem to feel that anything other than the most minor morphological change somehow violates the scriptures, and I don't personally see that. And I also see that the discoveries of the world certainly tell us that morphological change is very possible. So I don't understand why that's a conflict for you. The idea that things could change over time, why is that a conflict for you?
because if you have a truth that has fabricated evidence, it is
You haven't
it
presented
is
any fabricated evidence. You just keep saying that.
yes, because we can take hours discussing each and every one of them. I can bring up one example because it's right on the top of my head.
Well, you had mentioned the horse, and you're wrong about the horse. That's still commonly accepted to be accurate.
It is commonly accepted, but this is a fallacy. Just
But
because
according to who, please? According to who, it's a fallacy.
according to the I would call them the 10 commandments of logical discussions, there are some specific fallacies. One of them, for example, is the ad hominem. You know what that is. Okay. Another one is the strawman attack. There is one of them that
What does
is
that
called
have to do the horse, Achilles?
I will explain. There is one fallacy that is titled the belief of the majority. So we cannot say that something is true because most people believe that. That doesn't prove it.
But what's your reason that it's not true?
The fact that I believe in the flood and telling me that these were found in a series in the geological column, which has been disproven many times, that the geologic column A doesn't exist anywhere on the planet, because if it existed, it would have been 1.5 miles long or more. It doesn't exist anywhere. It exists in textbooks only. There is not a single place on the earth that you can find the whole geologic column. It started not from a biologist, but from a lawyer, and it is what influenced Darwin to continue his work. So another proof we have is Haeckel's embryos and their resemblance when they are up to 3 days, I think, or less, or more than that. So I have an article right here, but it asks me to log in from the New Scientist. I will refresh to only read the title, but no, wait, I can share. But when it asks to log in, I will have to reload it. Okay, Ryan. Okay, so this is from the New Scientist. And do you know this drawing?
Yes.
Do you know? Okay,
I'm glad
so
you didn't tell me to do it. I don't know how.
if I scroll down, it will immediately ask me to log in. So unfortunately, on this one we can't read more. But this is an artist.
Yes.
We have here New Scientists magazine or website nowadays, and it said that it led to drawn out lies. So if you open a biology book of a university today, you will find this in a book. This has been disproven for the past 200 years.
I have heard Kent Hovind say that, but I've never seen him present any evidence that it's disproven. Did we lose Achilles?
Hello, Achilles.
He was saying he couldn't hear me good. He might have had a bad connection.
Yeah, it sounds like he has a bad connection. We'll see if here he is. He's back. Let's see if he's.
I certainly don't mind waiting.
Yeah, he's back.
Sorry for that.
No, that's all right.
We're just glad you're back.
Yeah.
I pressed the back button, but on the wrong tab.
Oh, I've done that before.
I have too.
So I'm sharing it again. I did manage to scroll down. So it looks like in some websites, if you just refresh the page when it forces you to log in to read the article, it works. Now we actually can read through. And it's saying right here, I didn't even get to read it. You saw I just was gone for a split second. It says Haeckel wanted to convince his readers that all vertebrates share a common ancestor, and that, as he put it, ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny. Without getting into fancy words, he was proven wrong by the scientists of the time because people died and they managed to get the embryos. And Haeckel, and he got into a trial. He lost the trial, and he lost his degree on the university, and he was not allowed to teach on a university ever again. He said in court that I actually believed it, but that doesn't make it true. Even if you make, he's trying to take to detach himself from lying and saying that, okay, I was wrong. You weren't just wrong, but this is not a problem. But this is not my problem. My problem is, why is it today in my books of biology, and it is telling me that this is one of the many proofs for evolution, if it has been disproven by court 200 years ago? Don't you believe that there comes a time when
Achilles, I don't think that there's any proof for the whole narrative that you just gave.
Oh, there is. I just brought one article that immediately calls it that drawn out lies, and it is even 2015. It's not even today's article.
Those charts that were published as new information came in were continually updated and corrected for modern, information, as all scientific charts are.
Um, if something gets disproven, it goes to court. The guy loses
That's
his
the part that I think there's no
license.
evidence for. I don't think that ever happened.
No, it did. It did happen, and we're going way back in history to doubt something
I would
because it's
encourage the audience to personally look into this if you have time, because I don't have the resources at hand, but I'm almost certain that there's no history for that.
If I may interrupt just briefly, if you two could occasionally pay attention to the text chat.
Yes.
Mark Reed has been making quite a few comments that one of you or both of you might want to respond to, possibly.
it's the time of the night for me that I can't be dealing with too many things.
I
My,
understand
my
completely.
okay, my
For
mind
those
is
who don't
focused.
know, it's the wee hours of the morning for Achilles.
Before we
4:28.
start winding down, can I touch on one more point, please, Achilles?
Yes, I will. I wanna say here that
Please.
my mind is focused on you and your question at the same time, trying to bring the answers to it, and it's very hard for me to also focus at the chat. It's very hard. If Ryan can do that, that would be very helpful. Okay, go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
The next thing I wanted to mention, as I've brought up several times, is what we know about morphological change. All modern dogs are descended from Siberian wolves. Every dog in existence is 100% modified Siberian wolf. And so when you look at a Great Dane and a Basset Hound, and an English Mastiff and a Chihuahua and a Teacup Poodle, and all these various morphological forms that are so drastically different one from another, and you acknowledge that humans did this through selection in such a short period of time, I guess I don't understand why a person would not then conclude that nature over longer periods of time could also produce morphological change. I don't see why a person wouldn't believe that.
Okay. If you want to look at the comments, I will spend a couple of minutes to find a picture about what is my problem with this.
Sure.
It is the fact that this is observable. I've seen it happening. I've bred dogs,
Okay.
and I had the accident of having a Rottweiler go with another one wild. Okay, and I kept all the babies because I would never throw them away. And I observe that this is easy to observe, but this is not proof that all the other aspects of evolution are true. This is
Well, what I'm
micro.
arguing is
This
that
is microevolution, or
micro is an outdated term. People don't really use those terms anymore. Either a population is evolving or it isn't.
I like the previous one more, actually, from what you just said. I prefer the previous one because this one completely generalizes it to evolution.
But that's because evolution was intended to describe the process. When we speak of macroevolution, we're speaking of the idea that this process could provide given enough time and opportunity. But the process itself is evolution. Like if human beings, for instance, transitioned over to not having wisdom teeth, that literally would be textbook evolution.
Or I would say mutation. Why evolution? Because you don't need
That's
them.
the word that biologists have chosen to use to describe that phenomenon.
So at least do you see how they try to tie it all together to evolution just by one fact, which is the variations that each kind can have. Like if a black goes with a white human being, dark skinned with a lighter skinned, the one in between is, I will never find the English word for that, but It's half. It's a little bit of both. This happens between species, between the same kind of a species,
Well, I
but no.
guess right there, the word kind, the way you're using it is very interesting because I am also, as I said at the beginning of the conversation, I'm a special creationist because of faith. So in the book of Genesis, for instance, it says that God created a kind that was the fowl of the air. So I believe that that kind that is the fowl of the air has no genetic descent relationship with the kind that is the beast of the field. I believe those two kinds were specially created. Now, this is the issue I have is it only lists a handful of groups. It's like
Uh,
5 or 6 or 7 different groups and maybe less. It didn't list every individual cow, every individual buffalo, every individual kind of bird. That is young earth creationist people proposing that. But all it actually lists is their kind. It says they shall bring forth after their kind. So if you have a bird and it's in the fowl of the air kind and it brings forth anything that is also in the fowl of the air kind, then it has, by the Bible, brought forth after its kind. So I would ask you again, why do you oppose the idea of extreme morphological change if these kinds themselves are very broad?
because you start with a smaller group, and then this group will have variations, and the group will get much, much larger, but it will never stop flying. It is the
There's
same
been
kind.
birds that have stopped flying, Achilles.
What? Sorry, broke out.
There's many, many birds that no longer fly.
The chicken.
Sure, the chicken, the dodo bird. I mean, there's a lot of birds, the penguin. There's a lot of birds that just don't fly anymore because of the selection process.
Okay, want me to tell you why I think the chicken doesn't fly?
Sure.
Because God loves you, and it's the tastiest bird there is. And if we didn't have chicken, a lot of people would have starved.
But chickens are descended from wild Chinese jungle fowl that did fly.
That's what we say,
That's a matter of historical record.
based on the geologic column.
No, not at all based on the column, based on the records of domesticating the chickens.
Oh, all right. I didn't know that, and I heard the story of a chicken on a comedy show.
It is a funny bit. I'll give it to you.
Okay, yeah, and I enjoyed it. Okay, because I haven't heard that
I'll give you the
with
bit.
the chicken.
It was good.
It was
And chickens actually still do fly a little bit, to be
a
honest. They
little
just don't
bit.
fly as good as they used to. But
Yes.
they're descended from Chinese jungle fowl, which we have fairly decent records. It's not that long ago that they were domesticated. My point is, if you look at the penguin, some folks will say, well, God especially created the penguin to live in the water and not fly. But the Bible never says anything like that or implies that. And all of the natural world says everything against that. So my question is, why do you believe that?
Um, we get one example after the other, and the question is, why do I believe that
No,
it
hold on,
does?
the specific thing. The penguin.
Okay,
Penguins
so
live in the water, right? They don't fly, they live in the water. And young earth creationists would say, well, God just made the penguin special to live in the water and not fly. The Bible does not say that. It does not say that flying fowl can turn into the penguin is impossible. It never says anything of the kind. There's nothing in the scriptures to forbid this. And everything in the natural world tells us it's true. So my question to YEC people is, why don't you believe it?
I would say this. Have you seen a penguin swim?
Yeah.
Have you seen anything swim faster than that?
I can't recall specifically, but probably.
I mean, it's pretty fast. It's pretty fast. Okay. So with larger wings, would it be able to fly this fast? To swim this fast? It would
Yeah,
fly.
the idea is that when it had larger wings, it wasn't swimming this much.
So there was a point where the penguin was flying, and then it turned into swimming. I
Why?
don't know.
Why do you
It sounds a little bit far fetched to me. I'm sorry. You're also breaking up. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Achilles, why do you believe that an animal with wings would choose swimming?
Because they're not exactly wings. They
They're
are
exactly
pedals.
wings.
They are pedals. They are. If I'm not using the right word, they are. They are there for it, so it can steer inside water. And seals also have them.
You think seals have wings?
No, they look different, but it is for the same purpose, which is to change direction. Like you can see.
Achilles, that's my point. A penguin is a modified bird, and a seal is a modified dog. We're saying the same things.
Well, for me, the one who designed them for this specific purpose gave them the ability, because it's not just the fact that it swims fast, it is the fact that it can alter its course in such a speed that the attacking orca gets surprised. Okay, so this is an ability they have to evade orcas and great white sharks.
Sure.
It didn't evolve
So you
because
think
others
penguins were
died.
especially created just like they are today?
Uh, I lost the word.
Do
When I
you
mean lost, I mean breaking out. Yeah.
do you believe that penguins were especially created for the lifestyle that they have today?
Yes.
Why?
And um, because well, let me be blunt about this. God is showing off. He is showing off to evolutionists
Can I offer a different narrative?
and atheists. I think he is doing that to show us that there are so many brilliant things out there, that try to connect them all to common ancestors and things like that. So yes, before you do, I will just want to conclude on the penguin to say
Please.
that to get from a bird to this magnificent being that it is, the penguin, there is a lot of faith in between. There are a lot of little steps that must have taken place that require faith. You
Why do
have
you say
no
they require faith? We know that these little steps take place. We already
how
established that as a fact.
you must find one penguin fossil who actually had wings, but
Achilles,
still
you
but
wouldn't
still
believe
was a
it if they
penguin.
call it fake if they found it, and they probably have found it, but you would just say it
It's
was fake.
No, I'm not saying it's faked. I'm saying that the positioning is fake because the geological column is based on the fact that the flood never existed, and what existed is some example, the horse that you said, and then above it, the other horse, and then above it, the other horse. This by itself creates a lot of gap in understanding mathematically how that happened. For example, how did the layer above come? Like
You offer a different narrative to the listeners.
if something dies today, will it get fossilized and get buried underground, or will it be eaten by predators within days, and not even bones will remain because they will scatter them?
Well, that
Why?
happens for the vast majority of animals that die. That's why fossils are rare.
Well, first off, I don't think they're so rare. Like, if, for example, something happened here in Greece a couple of years ago, a village got torn in half because the ground collapsed. And in that ground that collapsed, they found a mammoth. Okay. So I think they are everywhere. But
They are everywhere, but when I say
yeah.
rare, the like it's a percentage thing, right? If there's 10 billion animals born a year and 100,000 of them fossilized, that's still a very, very minute, percentage. But the narrative that I wanted to offer the audience, you offered a narrative that God in His infinite wisdom specially designed every creature for the niche that it's currently in. And I
And
would like to offer a different perspective that God, in His infinite wisdom, allowed biological life to adapt and change and morph to ever changing environments so that they didn't go extinct, because God is a God of predestination, and He looked ahead and saw that the world would change. And so He, in His infinite wisdom, allowed these creatures the abilities to change and adapt and continue to survive and populate the world with many, many variations of each kind of animal. And I think that everything in the Bible and everything in nature supports that worldview.
okay. Um, I don't agree. I don't agree, but I'm taking the time while trying to listen to you to fetch what I've been trying to for quite some time. And this, why this is so complicated to do, is because I have edited this into previous videos, and I have the editing program open, and I'm gonna share my screen so at least I can show how hard it is to find what I'm talking about.
No, please take your time. I've been talking a little bit lately, so I'll go ahead and mute my mic and give you a few minutes.
Um, uh, okay, first thing I'm pointing out to you is the difficulty of why I haven't been able to find it because this is my timeline right here. Can we see this?
Yes.
Somebody okay. So if look at what's happening here. Okay, so if I'm looking for some specific something, I need to know what it is, and I haven't done this. But here it is, the image that I was looking for. Now, before we go there, look at my timeline. I'm gonna zoom in. So this from where I have my mouse right here up to here is a 2 hour long video, and before it is another 2 hour long video, and after it is another 2 hour long video. So I have chopped little pieces of information, and it's very hard for me to locate the one I'm looking for, while at the same
I
yeah,
didn't prepare either, so don't feel bad.
while at the same time being asked something new, and I'm trying to focus on that. So that's why it's delaying so long. But I think now we have a full screen, right?
Yes.
So number 6 is what we can observe. There is no doubt. But they take 6 as proof, and they justify all the above, which are lies. Cosmic evolution.
This chart is something that was invented by Kent Hovind, this 6-phase evolutionary chart. There are no secular scientists that acknowledge this chart. That being said, I'm perfectly happy to talk about it, but I did want to say for the sake of the audience that all of the other numbers are not, in fact, necessarily dependent upon version 6. That is only what Kent Hovind proposes.
Yeah, but what he's trying to say with that, and before I even say that, I have to say, then if there aren't other scientists that speak about this, then you should feel blessed that we had Dr. Hovind.
Well, I like Dr. Hovind. I like a lot of his work. It's just when it comes to things like biology that he and I clash.
Okay. Let me though continue, because my train of thought is weird.
Yes,
it's running off and listening, and then running to different directions, and I'm lost in the station. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
I'm not scoffing. I'm not trying to say that you're doing something wrong. You're trying to have a discussion. I understand, but I have a little bit of a hard brain. It's the hour 2, and a lot of information that we are bringing up together, and so it's 3 things I want to focus on here. One is that he is the only one that is working against the narrative, and that's why he gets attacked so much. Number 2, it doesn't matter who you are, it matters what you say. So if something is true and you hear it out of a mouth of somebody that you don't agree with overall, and he says something that you agree, you cannot say, well, I can't agree with you in general, so I will discard this too.
No, I agree with that. That's the exact point I was talking about Darwin. Yes.
Okay, so this fact right here, because I too have a scientific degree, and I've been dealing with planets and with telescopes, I can see a lot of logic behind this, and behind a lot of things that Dr. Hovind says. I will agree with some people that there are some things concerning the theological part that maybe he's not right there. But when it comes to science, there is no debate. What I've done in one previous video of mine is say that by now you know my favorite scientist. So let me now teach you about my favorite preacher, and I turn it to another pastor, which is MacArthur, John MacArthur.
Oh
But
yes,
I
John.
consider him, Dr. Hovind, a great scientist. Personally, I also consider him a great theologian. But we can't deny the fact that he is a scientist and he has been teaching science in schools for many years. So concluding that, and I'm sorry for taking so long, it's my fault. I have to put them in order to phrase them, and that could take some time. I'm sorry.
No, please take it.
So we have a narrative. I have been, before I arrive at the Bible, actually, the best way to say this is that the reason I arrived at the Bible is that there was not a single scientific documentary out there that I hadn't watched. I was waiting for a new documentary to come out to watch it. I am a guy who grew up with Carl Pagan, and during the summers, I would take a laptop with me when I was 20, 22. I would take a laptop with me with Carl Sagan documentaries so I can teach my friends in summer about the planets. At some point, though, I realized that they're lying to me. They're lying to me about evolution. They're lying to me about the birth of planets. They're lying to me about the Big Bang. And all this, the only thing they have is microevolution. So I will go from 1 to 6 to 5 very quick. Cosmic evolution is the Big Bang. There is no evidence. We've never had any evidence. It's a theory. It's a religion. Because if you have no evidence for something,
You don't think there's any evidence for the Big Bang?
There is no evidence. No.
But there is, though.
What is evidence for the Big Bang? Wait, careful here, because this is my field.
Sure. Redshift.
Yeah. I mean, redshift. So redshift, we have one star that is both. It is a double star, and one of them is red and the other is blue. You want to know why? Because God is laughing with you all.
So you don't want to acknowledge the phenomenon of redshift?
We base the phenomenon of redshift on the Doppler effect, which the Doppler effect has to do with sound waves and not light waves. We don't exactly understand light yet. We're trying. We connect it with sound, but we have no proof that it is sound.
But you said there's no evidence. Evidence does not mean that you have a full case for something.
We know that things get away from us.
Yes.
But they are not getting away from each other. They're getting away from us. And if you read the Bible, it says God expands the sky.
But that was just describing the Big Bang. Actually, the terminology that the King James uses is that God stretcheth out the heavens, which is exactly what we observe with redshift, which proves that the BigAng is true even scripturally.
No, that doesn't prove the Big Bang. That doesn't prove that all these things at some point were closer together so much.
Things were stretched out. That means they used to be closer together. That's what stretched out means.
Yes, but
that's what the Big Bang suggests.
Yes, but stretched out from a beginning position.
Correct.
Not all the way back to being a little dot.
Where does it say that in the Bible, Achilles?
The Bible says stretched out.
From what?
And we suspect.
Hold on, you're proposing the certain position. From what does the Bible say stretched out?
It doesn't say from what.
Correct.
We are the ones that assume.
Well, it sounds like you're the one assuming.
No, I'm just saying that if we take the first assumption. I will leave my assumption for later. If we take one assumption, being that they were close together so much that at some point this little dot went boom and it created everything, and that's why right now they are expanding from each other, there are a lot of problems with that theory.
Do you think that's the way that Big Bang scientists explain the Big Bang, the way you just said it?
No, I'm summarizing it to save time to all those who actually do understand. You included. I'm just summing it up. summarizing it, summing it up to make it one phrase, so we can go on from there. That's of
I
course
would kind
not.
of like to hang out there for a minute.
Oh, that's I'm fine. I'm fine with that.
I
So
do, before we move on, I want to make one point about that.
I will have to, yeah.
Just a quick point, and I'll let you get back to it. For the sake of the audience, the Bible says that God stretched out the heavens. We observed that God stretched out the heavens. The scientists chose to describe that observation as the Big Bang. No matter what they describe it as, it is exactly what the Bible said. So the Big Bang proves the Bible.
So here, this is from a textbook. Please don't give me the it's old, because the number has only grown. Nothing has changed.
Actually, that number has gone down to about 13.7, I think.
Yes. So everything, when they discover that this doesn't make sense, then they change it. So
But
when
that's
you
just the scientific process, Achilles.
wait, I understand. I understand what
You-
I understand what the scientific process is, my brother. But if they say 18, actually, the numbers have changed so much that it is ridiculous.
They've
Uh,
changed to 13.7.
I will find the appropriate picture for that. But what I want to say now about this is that if they change and then they change and then they change, what point am I supposed to touch in order not to hear that this is outdated? And that disproves the fact that it is outdated. Disproves the fact that it's
No, it
still a
does not
lie.
prove anything. Let me make a comparison here of how untrue.
I'm trying, though, to say that they will keep changing it, and there is no single point where you can intervene and say you are lying to me, because if you intervene at that point, they will say, "Oh, you're still outdated."
Because that's not
Now
what
we
lying is.
changed that too. What?
That's not what lying is. That's not what the word lying means. Let me give you an example.
Well, you have
Let me
intelligent.
give you an example.
You have intelligent liars. They're not just
Let me give you an
doing
I'm
this
glad
by
you
accident.
that they're
Okay,
intelligent, but let me give you an example.
go ahead.
This is an iPhone 13, right?
Oh, I'm not. Wait a minute. I'm coming. Give me a minute, and let me answer this, because if I look here, this is happening. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, for the sake of you and the audience, this on my screen is an iPhone 13, right? It came from work that used to be an iPhone 11, which came from work that used to be an iPhone 6. This has since become an iPhone 14 and an iPhone 15. And if you give it a few years, it's going to be an iPhone 18. The camera on the iPhone 6 is worse than this. And the camera on the iPhone 15 is better than this. But this camera still works. Your reasoning here is not sound. Updating information to account for recent discoveries and changing things to adjust to make them accurate in the light of new information is not the same as lying. That is a mischaracterization.
No, what I am saying, what isn't the mischaracterization is what you said I just did. That is the mischaracterization, because what I did was to tell you that you have very intelligent liars, that when they realize through peer review that, oh shit, this doesn't make sense, then they change the number, and then they change it again, and then they change it again, and then
That's
they
not
change it
lying.
again, and it still doesn't make sense. So let me be the one to ask one question then. Do you believe that the Big Bang happened?
I believe that whatever
it
it
proves
was
the
that
Bible.
caused, well, it's obvious that the Big Bang proves the Bible. It's one of many things in nature that proves the Bible. If we take away the Big Bang, we've taken away credibility of the scriptures. But
Oh,
well,
whoa.
yes.
I completely disagree. I completely
I
disagree
know,
with
but I
that.
made my case for that earlier. The scripture predicted that things were stretching out, and then we discovered that to be true. So it gives credibility to the scriptures.
First off, do you know how we measure stars?
I'm not versed in trigonometry, but I know that it's by trigonometry.
This stream was not supposed to touch all the problems.
I didn't
Okay.
bring up. You did.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm trying to pull me back by telling you that if you focus on it, we just anything we touch, we don't actually have the time to focus on it. Like we can stick to one, but even if you touch, for example, we went from the microevolution. I wanted to show the things that they say are true with the only sole observable thing, which is microevolution. And then from that, I received the redshift, which proves the stretching out. And not only does the redshift doesn't work, it's not, there could be stellar clouds between specific stars that change their color.
But why don't
Because
you believe that it proves the Bible's true? Don't you believe in the Bible?
no. I believe in the Bible. I just don't believe that this proves or disproves the Bible, because it is a lie. So in order to measure a star, we are talking about billions of light years away. And if you put down the trigonometry, you will notice that the triangle that we are talking about is so thin, like we are waiting for the Earth to go on the other side and measure once and then measure again. Now I can try this with paint in order to show you, or I can find an image, but still we are focusing on one. And maybe we should just focus on one and complete it, and not just jump from each other.
Yeah. Whatever item you like the best, I'm happy to focus on.
Okay, since the discussion brought it, I will just Google here measuring stars. The stellar parallax, which the Wikipedia picture is not showing the planet, so I'm gonna have to find a better one. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I will open it to a new tab. And I will now share that tab. Everybody who is watching also know that none of the two of us was prepared for this. So yeah, there have been no slides or anything like that. We just
This many notes.
Let me say that both of you have done a great job. You've been very respectful to each other. I haven't had to break up any fights or anything. You guys have both done a great job tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Very respectful opponent, and I don't think of you as an opponent, of course, but you're a very nice guy to talk to.
Likewise, brother. Likewise, and we're all in the search of truth. So if I see a brother, according to my opinion, being deceived by others, I feel it like an obligation to help him see the world the way I do, and I hope the same happens from your side.
Yes.
So everybody, I guess, understands what we are seeing here. If not, I can go explain it. This is how we measure stars. At the center, we have the nearby star that we want to measure. Okay. And you see that we create this triangle from different positions of the Earth, 6 months later.
Yes.
Okay. So the distance you have from the sun to the Earth is what we call one astronomical unit. One astronomical unit. Anyone can tell me how long does it take from the light of the sun to come to the Earth? Is it 7 minutes?
No. I think it's 8 minutes, but I may be wrong.
Okay, so if we take 8 minutes, can you multiply that for 1 billion light years away? You know, a light year is not a year, it's distance. It's the distance that the light travels in a year. So when we say light years. We're talking about distance. People
Correct.
sometimes get confused because they hear the word years. It's a a measurement of distance. So this picture that we have here is intentionally completely out of scale, because the distance that you have from the sun to the earth compared to this star is so small that the number you have with Pythagoras theorem, the Pythagorean theorem, the numbers that you get are so small. We're talking about 0.00020 zeros. So if you factor in the error that you cannot know if you are on the exact same position 6 months later, because
Well, the further away that stars are, the more percentage of error that they calculate for. There's a larger margin of error depending on levels of distance, and so they understand that.
You should put the math down, though. If you do put the math down, you will be
Do you
like
know trigonometry?
Yeah.
Can you do this math yourself?
It is sine, cosine, yes, but I want to focus somewhere else.
I can't do this math myself. That's why I wanted to say I don't know trigonometry.
Okay, so what
I don't know
we're
surgery,
doing,
version
what we're
does.
doing is that we have we don't know. You can see my mouse, but we don't know the distance from the blue dot to the red to the yellow dot. Okay, so what we do is we have one thing certain, which is the distance from the sun, which also changes. So the earth is not an exact circle outside the sun. It is an elliptical orbit. Okay, so on an elliptical orbit, you can never know the exact same spot 6 months later, because you don't know where that orbit is exactly compared to the sun and the star that you are measuring. But I want to bypass that problem too and give you another problem which comes out of my experience with telescopes.
Okay.
As you look at the sun and the earth, where is noon for the earth? It is exactly where the line is that connects it with the sun. That is noon. Okay. If you don't understand what I mean, let me know. Those that are right below this dot, I can't have. I can share my screen actually, but this would create. No, I know. Wait a minute. Give me a minute. It will be very helpful if I have my mouse over it. I need to share screen and make it entire screen, and then go to the tab. Now, do you see my mouse?
Yes.
Oh, great. So those that are right here under this line are on noon, because the sun is right on their zenith. Those that are right here on the bottom side of this dot, of this blue marble right here, okay, these are on midnight. Right here is midnight. I know this because in order to capture a planet with a telescope, you needed to be as close to the zenith as possible, because otherwise you get interference from the atmosphere. It needs to be as vertical as possible to your telescope to get a better picture. Fair enough? Understandable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out why you don't believe in evolution.
Don't, because we're facing on a specific part of it right now. Okay, not the whole thing. We are trying to prove that they tell us some things, and they say, "Oh, we know this by that." Yeah, but I looked into that, and it's a lie. Oh, okay, we know this by that. Oh, I looked into that too. That too is a lie. So if you look into every single thing that they are telling you that they know and you don't, they're lying. So let me complete this, and I will do this quick. Everybody that is under this line right here are on noon. It's 12 o'clock noon. Okay. Everybody that is down here is 12 o'clock at night. Okay. So we have 11, 10, 9, 8. This right here is the twilight zone. Do we see that? This
Yeah.
is dawn. This is dawn or dusk.
Okay.
Okay. So if on the same tab, I don't want to miss this, though I will go back. Okay. Twilight. Saturn at twilight. I want to find something like that. I want to find something like
Oh, hey, Adam Lore. Hey, Adam Lore. There's all kind of people on the show tonight.
so
We've got a lively chat, that's for sure.
Yeah, man, this has been a good chat section.
It has.
I didn't want to find this picture. I'm getting out of it, but I liked it to show what the zenith is and what is the twilight. Okay, so she is right now looking here. You are watching my finger move, right? My mouse. You cannot take good pictures of this object, though. You can observe it, but you cannot take good pictures. And the reason for that is that the atmosphere is thicker because there is more atmosphere this way. The less atmosphere you can have is on top of you because it is a shorter distance. If yeah, I guess something like this would do. Nah, maybe not back though. But anyway, if you look directly above you, you get much less atmosphere than looking from here this way. Okay, so it's always better to have an object on your zenith. So imaging twilight. What I'm trying to point out is that if you image an object through the twilight, you get 3 objects because there is refraction, because the atmosphere is very thick, because you are going through parallelly all the layers. But imaging planets at twilight. Please give me a good picture so we can just move on with the next discussion. One good picture, please. Okay, so I will. I need a better keyword. It has to be planetary imaging. That's a good one. No, these are filters though. And collimation. This is not what I want to say, but you get some kind of distortion, which I'm going to show it to you. And where
you're looking at that real quick. Do you believe that astronomers are intentionally lying to us about star distances?
Astronomers have nothing to do with star distances. There are specific scientists and astronomical universities that tell us this is the distance. It's not something that I can do with my telescope.
Okay, you say it's not astronomers. Let's just assume it's not. Do you believe that whoever it is that records star distances is intentionally lying to us? And if so, why?
To disprove God, everything connects.
Disprove God?
You broke out. I only heard God.
You think that people at the highest level of astronomy are just like rubbing their hands together in a dark room trying to disprove God?
Well, were you here with the discussion about who owns the biggest telescopes on the Earth?
I certainly heard some of that discussion.
It is the Vatican. It's not NASA.
I don't think that you ever proved that, but there was some speculation that it's the Vatican.
You can. I've looked it up much earlier in my life when I was researching whether they are lying to me.
But why
Uh,
is it lying to you? I mean, like if you believe that every biologist in the world is trying to cover up this thing with fossils, I mean, why? What's the reason?
70 or 80% of them believe what they are told. The other 20% is the one that perpetrates the lies, and they are those who have the magazines. So if somebody is subscribed to a magazine, they believe what the magazine said. So, in the exact manner that I believed, for example, Focus magazine, when I was reading it when I was much younger, I believed anything it said because I didn't have the experience to verify the claims and I believed them. But this is faith. This is not science. Science means that something is observable and I can prove it or disprove it. And there is a lot of people out there who and problems. Let's see
So
that.
I'm assuming that the finality of this section of the talk is just to conclude that we're being lied to at the highest levels of science. Is that the idea?
Yeah. So, to get out of this, because I wasn't prepared with a picture and I can't find one. But if I spend more time into it, I will, and the discussion does need to continue. Imaging planets. If I find,
Okay, I just want to, real quick, I want to make one more comment just for the sake of the audience. Just so my position on this is known. The Bible said that God stretched out the heavens. Then we discovered that God stretched out the heavens. So it confirmed the Bible. That's what really happened.
um, but this doesn't go all the way to a Big Bang. He
Big Bang
stretched.
is just a. I mean, you keep
He's
saying it almost like that
he's
separates it from the whole idea. Redshift is real; it exists. Things are in fact moving apart, no matter what you want to call it.
But what I'm trying to prove to you right now with what I'm doing is that if we have the problem of refraction, like okay, if you take a glass of water and you throw a straw in it and you look at it from the side, you can see that the light refracts and you see the straw going one way and then it immediately turns and goes more backwards, downwards. Do you see that picture that I'm saying?
You don't think that cosmologists are accounting for refraction?
When you are trying to measure something from the distance of half an astronomical unit to a distance of 100 million light years away, and you have refraction into the factor, we are talking about the error of an error of an error. Like it is impossible. It is not happening. It is fantasy. I mean, I'm sure you can see it on TV and on Hollywood and on documentaries giving you computer generated imagery of this is how we measure it. But if you took the math and you put it down, it doesn't add up. So that's what people
Don't
don't
you
do.
think the cosmologists do the math?
I think that those who are supposed to do the math are lying, and the others who are supposed to verify that math, they're just not scientists. They call themselves scientists, but they're
Well, they're
not.
probably mathematicians.
Um, anyway,
It just seems strange to just say that everybody's just lying for whatever reason.
there are a lot of lies, and they have created a false idea that is only based on lies. Oh, I just had a
But
perfect picture.
as Christians, shouldn't we expect to have discovered that the stars are in fact being stretched out like the Bible says? Shouldn't we have rejoiced at that discovery?
We should rejoice at the fact that God has created this magnificence up there and this magnificence down here. And according to him, there are three heavens. One of
Yes.
them is where the birds roam. One of them is where the stars are. And there is a third one where he is and we will go.
That is how Kent Hovind teaches the three heavens. I have a different position, but I can understand a person looking at it that way.
Okay. So what, tell me your position. Am I sharing this picture?
Yes.
This is the problem, my brother.
This picture.
Yes, if you don't focus on each lie, you think you are seeing the truth. But if you put a magnifying glass, it's all based on little lies. And all those little lies, now I will share the rest of my screen to go back to the program. Sorry for that. I need to hide this so this pops up. And I'm here now. And I think it was here. Yeah. So every single one of those is based on the fact that we can observe that dogs create different varieties of dogs. That's
radically
only
morphological different varieties of dogs.
Call it what you may, but this is the only proof we have.
But that is proof. That's enough.
No, it's not, because it cannot tell me that from
You believe that a teacup poodle and an English mastiff are radically different morphologically?
I don't know the first one, but I get your point. I think that they did all come from the ark, and there are there's a variety of reasons why some dogs evolved differently. Some dogs were in harsher environments,
because that is the proper usage of the word.
but only because I'm talking about microevolution. Okay, so I'm sharing my full screen so you can see my mouse too, right?
Yes.
So let me do something real quick right here and see my editing skills. All right, I go here, go there, then copy this, then paste this over it and have a 45-degree. No, 45 was not good, but I'll take this now, put it over here. This is what you must realize. That none of this
What is what I must realize?
None of this has any proof. I'm leaving out of the X.
We just went to item number 1 and determined that redshift could certainly be considered proof.
No, I didn't. I said that
no, I proposed that.
Okay, but I did say that we observe redshift and we also observe blue shift.
But do you think putting a big red X through all these different fields of science disproves them?
No, I'm putting the X because they are disproven. It's not the fact that I added the X here that disproves them. I am adding the X there because they've all been proven lies.
Do you believe that redshift is real, that things are expanding?
Actually, no, you didn't let me complete this sentence. We not only have redshift, we also have blue shift. So there are some that are going away, but there are some that are coming closer.
Sure.
So it's not that they are all going away. We have others that are coming closer. So either...
Do you understand the scientific position on why that is?
The true scientific position on why that is that the redshift is not real.
Oh, so you don't understand the scientific position of why that is?
Oh, you said understand. No, I thought you said no. I do understand that some are coming closer and the others are going further.
Well, the position.
This creates the red and the blue. That the blue is coming closer and the red is going further.
On the blue shift for a minute. The scientific position on that is thus. There's a struggle between two forces. One is gravity and one is dark energy. Dark energy.
Oh, here we go now.
Let me talk for a minute. One is gravity and one is dark energy. Gravity is the attraction of matter, and dark energy is the whatever it is that causes things to move apart. So when things are sufficiently separated by distance and gravity becomes weak enough, the separation of the universe itself, the expansion, the dark energy, actually becomes the more dominant force, and that is redshift. And when things are close enough where that gravitational force overpowers the dark energy, that is blue shift, because gravity is the stronger force in that situation. So they have a perfectly good answer for that.
Yes, but they came up with the answer of the dark energy when they lost. I'm trying to also stop the screen. When they lost the ability to cover up for the things that they couldn't. They came up with this idea that, oh, now we understand all the things that creationists were telling us that we are lying to them. It's all because there is this dark energy. Oh, really, sir? Where is it? Oh, you can't see it
Well, you
because
can
it's because it's dark. I'm
but you
just
can see it in
saying.
redshift.
Come on.
You can see it in redshift.
If there are around us clouds, which are from the explosions of what comes out of stars. First off, we've never observed, no matter how big of a telescope you have, there is no other star in the sky that you can zoom closer to. Okay, I don't know if you understand that. I can phrase it better.
Please repeat it. I just want to make sure I'm following your thought.
Okay, every single star in this trillionth multitude of stars out there cannot be zoomed into, no matter how big is your telescope. It is a dot, and when you zoom into it, it's still a dot.
So you don't believe that with a futuristic, sufficiently advanced telescope that we could zoom in?
There is none. I don't.
I was speaking of a hypothetical futuristic telescope.
Oh, futuristic telescope. Until we have one, there's still dots in the skies. Wait.
A lot of other things used to be dots in the sky till we got nicer telescopes. So we are moving in the right direction.
Okay, we are moving in some direction. I wouldn't say we're moving in the right direction because
the direction of seeing these things more clearly.
Okay, but the greatest telescope created on the Earth is in Arizona right now, and it's called Lucifer. So I'm not sure we're going into the right direction.
The greatest telescope that we're using right now is actually in orbit.
Yeah, but let's leave that for another debate. Let's not talk about this one because that's a bigger debate. Trust me. You don't want to go there. I have groups you can join, and you will not enjoy a lot of things about the Hubble telescope, because at some point in my life, I tried to look into the stats and what it actually made of and what is the size to see if I have a big enough telescope to compare it with it, and I couldn't find it anywhere on the Earth. No Wikipedia, nothing would ever say that it is so many inches, it has this kind of a camera, nothing ever.
Do you not believe in orbiting telescopes, that they exist?
Well, the theory sounds great, but in practice, mathematical practice, okay.
Mathematical practice?
That's the only practice there is, the mathematical one.
Do you believe in the International Space Station?
Let's keep one subject each time. Okay. No,
I'm not the one switching subjects.
No, I'm trying to focus on each one, and I do get a little bit bombarded. And you're not doing this on purpose, but I'm not the one doing it. Okay. But anyway, if you do want to briefly mention the Hubble telescope, it is in orbit. Do you understand what being in orbit means?
It means traveling at about 17,000 miles an hour.
Thank you. And I mean thank you because a lot of people think being in orbit is something different, and that's exactly what it is. Okay, yeah. So it is traveling at that specific speed. So if I take my telescope out and try to capture one star, I get a faint image. I get nothing. I get black. That's what I get on my computer. I get a black image. In order to have the star appear, I need to raise the exposure of the camera. Exposure. We
Okay.
understand what that is. Okay.
Good.
So if I extend the exposure to the point that the star is visible, I still get a very faint image of it.
Okay.
If I raise the exposure more, then I no longer get a star. Now I get a line. And the reason I get a line is that I have raised the exposure so much that the star has moved from the position that it originally started. For example, in a 30-minute exposure, 30-second exposure, excuse me, my star has moved 30 arc seconds away from the original position. So that creates a line, and I cannot take a picture of the star. In order to take the picture of a star, I need a tracking mechanism, which I have, but I also need an equatorial mount, which turns your telescope into its side, so it no longer uses the X and Y axis. It only works on one axis. It follows only on the Y. For me, and the size of a telescope that I have, the cost to have this equipment is very expensive. But the tracker works because I am on a specific spot known, and I have a computer inside the telescope. You buy it with your telescope. It's called the computerized telescope. And that knows where the star is and where the star is supposed to be on the next second. If I don't have that knowledge within my telescope, I need your full focus to get this.
Yes.
I understand that it's the Chat-2, but in order for you to grab my my reasoning,
I understand that, but you have to realize you're sort of going on and on and on here.
you are right, but the question is a little bit deep when you tell me that what do you mean by the mathematical practice, and do you believe that the telescope is there? I will just conclude this by saying that according to my computerized telescope, there cannot be a telescope out there that goes in an orbit of 70,000 miles per hour and being able to track the stars and give me the pictures that it's giving me. It is impossible because my telescope is based on the Earth, and we have a knowledge of where the sky is in relation to the Earth. When you have an object that is moving on an Earth that is moving, you cannot put this into a computer that is up there. It is a little bit hard to explain it further.
Do you feel that you have a better grasp on the mathematics than the people that work in these fields at the highest level?
Well, NASA is being called never a straight answer, but this is another discussion for another time. Let's stick
Well, you're the one
to.
that brought up mathematics. I think it's right for me to ask that. Do you think that you personally better understand the mathematics than the people that lead these fields?
Gentlemen, if
No.
I may, we're getting
Yeah.
close to 2 hours. Do you guys want to wrap it up at 2 hours? You just want to keep
Whatever
on
you
going?
want to do is fine with me.
Well, the thing is that we just began touching one aspect, which is the Big Bang. We didn't even get to the fact that from a bang, we only get helium and hydrogen, maybe helium. It's not for sure, but we get hydrogen for sure. And we have 108 elements with another 12, I think, we found since, which are way heavier than hydrogen. And evolution from a Big Bang implies that these evolved, that gold and uranium evolved from hydrogen. It is It takes a lot of faith to believe in something like that. Mathematics prove that all elements don't move backwards, don't
How do
move
you think
downwards.
gold got into the universe?
How? How? I didn't catch that.
Yes.
How do I?
How do you believe that gold got into our universe?
God.
Gold, GOLD, gold. The element.
And I'm giving the response being
That's
God.
not a response. How do you believe that he did it? What is your explanation for how it got?
Snapping fingers, snapping fingers.
Where in the Bible does it say that he snapped his fingers and produced it?
He's so powerful.
Where does it say that in the Bible, Achilles?
He took the rib of Adam,
right? It gives us a
and
process.
made
Correct.
Eve.
It gives
Okay.
yes, it gives us a process. You're right.
So I'm trying to say that when he is telling us that we are gonna live on a kingdom on the earth and this earth will be rebuilt, it's not gonna take millions of years for the things to evolve again. They will be done again with the same power and the same speed, which is as fast as snapping his fingers like this.
Let me offer a different narrative that's based more in the scriptures and reality. Gold, as many of the elements are that are heavier, are produced in stars because the gravitational force is able to produce heavy elements.
There's a chicken and an egg problem on what you just said.
Hold on just a minute.
Okay.
That is the same thing as saying that God created it. It's just a little bit of information about how he did it.
But there is a chicken and an egg problem.
You're offering zero information. At least I'm offering some information.
Wait, brother, wait. You just said that based on reality, I'm quoting, air quoting.
You can just
we know how gold came from stars, and I'm telling you that this is a chicken and an egg problem because you need the elements for the stars to be created, and then you need
gold for stars to be created. That's not true.
Not gold, but you need the other elements.
Not the heavy elements that are produced inside of stars. No, you don't.
It is, though, a chicken and an egg problem. The fact that if you look up how stars are made, the elements get together and they create a star, and then that star creates elements. So that's a chicken and an egg problem. Which one created first? Was it the elements?
Well, let me answer the question. The elements that are being created in the star are not the same elements that are required to create the star. So it's not a chicken and egg problem.
All right. Okay. Go on, because I don't want to give you any more information. Go on.
Any information would be fine. You said that God snapped his fingers, but of course the Bible does not say that.
It does give us a 6-day creation, and he said that I made this, and then I made that. So I'm paraphrasing.
But what do you envision when you do
I'm paraphrasing this to the snapping of fingers. I'm just saying it didn't evolve through a long time. It just happened because he decided that it's time to do it, and he did it as easily as me and you can snap our fingers. It's not in the Bible that he snapped his fingers. Of course it's not, but it's more realistic reality than waiting for billions of years for things to evolve. Although
we're speaking about gold being produced by star gravity right now.
No, you asked me of right now. You just asked me of the alternative to that, and I told you that it's the snapping of the figures, and then you caught on that, and I said that that's not biblical. It is biblical.
No, it's not.
It is biblical. It doesn't say.
God snapped his fingers. Do not misrepresent the scriptures. That is.
I said. I'm paraphrasing the literal creation into what me and you would say as snapping of fingers. I'm just paraphrasing the fact that he said, "Let that be," and it was. Let the other thing be.
What does your mind do when you read that, Achilles? Because my mind probably does something different than your mind.
Well, if your mind has evolved from a random mutations, then how can you trust it?
I believe that the gravitational forces inside of stars are able to produce the heavy elements. Do you believe that?
There is a lot of factors that, if you look into them, they fail to prove all the sequence. So, my position on all this uh, is the fact that Jesus has told us that he is the truth, and we know from him that Satan is the father of lies. So I see one road, a highway that you can go two directions. You can go towards the truth, and you can go towards the lie. So you cannot use truths to arrive to a lie. No evidence will ever prove a lie. The evidence can only disprove a lie. The evidence will prove some truth. And we have a road that goes to the other side, and we are being told that this is true when it isn't. This is true. That isn't either. This is
Everything you just said is irrelevant.
I'm just summing up for you to understand what my position is concerning the snapping of fingers. The history of this earth is a literal creation, and it did not take billions of years. So
I don't know how long it did or didn't take. I mean, I'm simply saying that the mathematics show that stars can produce the heavy elements. So God might have used stars to produce the heavy elements.
but that implies a long time.
The Bible never gives us a timeline for how old the universe is. You guys just purport that, but it's not true.
I would refute the you guys because I'm just one guy.
I accept that. I should not categorize you. But the Bible does not tell us how old the universe is.
But the Bible does say on the first day, on the second day,
Sure.
on the third day. And on the third day, the plants were created. And on the fourth day, the sun was created.
Do you recall
For
how
me, that makes perfect sense. You broke out. I think you're breaking out every time I'm talking too. So I will try to not interrupt.
Well,
when you
I don't
speak.
mean to interrupt. I shouldn't do that. But
I do.
what I was
I do.
asking was,
Yeah.
do you recall what all happened on the first day?
I don't recall myself. I mean, I
Okay,
wasn't
the
there.
first day is very interesting because today we measure days based on the Earth doing a full 360-degree spin. That's how we measure days. Well, obviously, ancient peoples didn't understand astronomy the same way that we do, so they measured days differently. Now, if you look at day one, when the light is first created, if the way that we measure days is based on the relationship between the Earth and the sun as we understand them in modern astronomical knowledge, we can conclude that they sure didn't have any of that, and that the sun and the Earth weren't even in place at a certain point during this proposed week. So the way that you're measuring a 24-hour day is totally ridiculous to insert that into the early parts of Genesis.
I think this is a characterization because I believe my position is very valid. And what is ridiculous is being stuck up on one and not hearing the other side.
I've
Because
heard it. I've watched all of Brother Hoven's seminars probably 2 or 3 times. I've heard it.
the Bible does say uses words which, if I change from "let there be" to "snap of the fingers," I am not quoting the Bible right. But if somebody changes the "on the third day" into a longer period, that is fine. I think
I'm
this
not
is
saying what it was or wasn't. I'm simply saying trying to force it into our modern understanding of 24-hour days is impossible because the factors that are in place right now that we calculate days from were not even in place on the alleged day one. So it's a ridiculous thing to assume that day one was 24 hours.
okay. So I will say this then to this. Aren't you implying that the solar system is when you have in the Bible telling you that he created the sun after the earth? Doesn't that do something concerning the solar system? Like
It affects our ability to calculate days back then. That's what it does.
yeah, for me, it actually changes how I see the solar system. Like I see that the Earth was either moving around the solar system in a process which has to do with stars exploding and creating gold and diamonds, or the sun was created after the earth. There is no middle grounds here. Was
Well,
the sun?
the Bible does say that the sun was created after the earth, if my knowledge serves me
It
right.
is. It is. It is.
But all that does, Achilles, is further prove my point that you trying to calculate a day based on our modern calculations is ridiculous when there was no sun.
So, what is your calculation of that day?
I'm not the one purporting a calculation.
Well, if we have the elements from explosions of stars, then you are
No, I'm simply saying that the
you are
mathematics shows
implying a longer
gold can be-
process.
Well, I'm simply saying the mathematics shows that gold can be produced in the heart of stars, and so can other heavy elements. So why should I not believe that God used this way to produce gold that we know can produce gold? Why should I
What
not give God the glory that He deserves for that?
there is, even on this, there is you're basing it on fusion, and there is a limit on fusion. We cannot fuse past iron. Humans, we can't. We suppose that some stars have done it. We can't do it in a laboratory.
Correct,
Uh,
because we don't have the gravity of a star.
Well, okay, so but then it becomes an assumption that it's happening.
Well, it's a mathematical possibility. It's not an assumption. Those are two very different.
Okay. No, I mean, I will agree with that. It is a mathematical possibility, but we don't have the proof that we can fuse past the atomic number of iron.
I agree with that. But
Okay.
here's the way that they look at it, Achilles, is hey, we don't know where gold came from. We know that it couldn't have been produced on Earth by any natural processes. And we also mathematically know that it could have been produced in stars. So maybe it came from stars. What's unreasonable about that?
The maybe.
But you don't have any maybes in your life. You just live in a world free of maybes.
Yes, and it's a great world.
The answer
You,
was
you
no.
should visit. You should visit, brother. It's a great place to be. I live in a literal 7-day creation where God just created me right
Just his fingers.
like this, the way that I am. I picked up my Bible right now in order to do. I don't have a camera on me, but in order to show it like this is what I believe in. And then the minute I did that, I looked at my fist and I thought of this. There are 200 nerves going around these 7 bones that there are in your wrist. And you can twist your wrist 360 degrees and no nerve touches your uh, any bone. And you never get any pain if you twist 360 degrees. There are 200 nerves there. So this has been created that way. We have a brilliant designer
I'm a
for.
creationist, Achilles. I agree with you.
Okay. When if I were to lie to you, God will not wait to hear it later. He is right here between us, and he sees that I'm lying to you.
Sure.
Okay. The same thing he does in 7 billion people that are on the planet. On top of it, add the fact that he is outside of time and he can go back in your history or forward to your future. So we're talking about an unimaginably intelligent God.
Sure.
And that God has the power to create things in 6 days and then tell us, guys, I made them in 6 days. And the 7th day, I rested. I mean, I take it literally, and that's why my point is that it's a beautiful world, the one I'm living in.
Let me ask you a question, Achilles. In the book of Psalms, I believe it's Psalms, there's a scripture that says that God will cover us with the feathers of his wings. Do you believe that God is a bird, that he has feathers?
But I do no, but I do see what he means by that.
But you're a literalist, right?
I wouldn't call me a literalist. I mean, the book of Revelation is full of symbolisms.
But the book of
Um,
Genesis, no symbolisms at all?
no, I think the book of Genesis is an account, and
Why?
an account cannot have metaphors.
Why?
because an account is an account.
I'm saying, why do you think that one book is free of symbolism and metaphors?
Because it's an account, because that one, compared to the verse you just quoted and the book of Revelation that I quoted, that one is an account, while the other ones are prophetic.
Let me
And
ask you a question.
prophetic books can have metaphors, but if I were to make an account on your history, I cannot be metaphorical about it.
Let me ask you a question, Achilles. You believe, and I believe I'm seeing this correctly, that the first 5 books of Moses, the stories of creation and the children of Israel, that those first 5 books are accounts, correct?
I will admit now that I am not Kent Hovind. I don't have the full knowledge of what these books include that you are telling me.
Have
I
you
am
read the first 5 books of the Bible?
Yes, I think so. Which are the 5 books? What I can say is that I am a 7-year-old newborn. I was reborn in 2016, and all I'm doing since is understanding and learning more. And there is a lot to unravel, a lot.
Hold on a
And
minute.
no,
Just a
and
minute. Dustin, are you being a sidecar instigator?
Ryan, I know you're getting tired.
hello, Dustin.
Well, I've started taking my ZQL.
The coffee's not working anymore, right?
So,
I don't drink coffee at night. I know better than that.
I
I
did
am
want to make a little point here, though, with this.
I am admitting that I'm not proficient.
No, that's fine. I'm not trying to pick you up.
Okay, but go on. Let's assume that I do. I
promise
okay.
I'm not picking you apart on proficiency. There's many parts of the scriptures that I need to brush up on, so I'm not doing that. People often say that the first 5 books of the Bible were written by Moses. That's pretty commonly accepted.
Okay, yes.
And those 5 books are, as you said, accounts. The book of Genesis is, for the first major part of it, especially, but pretty much for all of it, it's an account of what some people would say God told Moses, and what others would say Jewish history was passed down to Moses, and what some people would say it's a combination of the two. I think that the first one's probably right. I think Genesis is a record of what God told Moses, because Moses had no other way of knowing it. But the next books are the accounts of the children of Israel as they come out of Egypt and go through the wilderness and do all this kind of stuff. They set up the Levitical priesthood. They inhabit the Canaan land, or actually they get all the way up to the Jordan River, basically, right before they inhabit the Canaan land. Now, I'm making this point. The last chapter of the 5th book is Deuteronomy. And the last chapter of that book is the part that records the departing of Moses. So who wrote Deuteronomy chapter 34? If Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, and Moses' own demise and departure is recorded right there in Deuteronomy chapter 34, then who wrote Deuteronomy chapter 34?
I've never encountered this question before, and my thoughts that are coming to me right now is that this part was written by those who were left behind and saw him depart.
But the problem with that, Achilles, is that the nature of his departure, if you read chapter 34, you find out that nobody saw him depart.
Okay, so who wrote it?
That's the question. I would not just who wrote it, but who knew what was in it to write it.
I would say revelation came to somebody to write it.
That's exactly what the chapter says. Now, let me finish my point.
Yeah.
The chapter records that Moses went up on Mount Nebo, and on the top of Mount Nebo was just Moses and God, nobody else. So already your mind is set to wonder, how did the writer even know about this? But Moses is on Mount Nebo, and the Lord shows him the Canaan land across Jordan River. And he says, I'm going to allow Joshua and the Israelites to inhabit that, but not you. You're not going to inhabit it, right? So then it says that Moses, the servant of the Lord, died according to the word of the Lord and was buried in the valley, and that no man to this day knoweth the place of his sepulcher. So this is my point. Moses went up on Mount Nebo. There's no witness. God dealt with Moses about the Israelites inhabiting Canaan land. There's no witness. Moses allegedly died. There's no witness. And Moses was buried. There's no witness. And the only terminology it gives us is that the writer knew this, quote, according to the word of the Lord, which means that a prophetical voice spoke to either Aaron or Joshua, or it wouldn't have been Aaron at that point, but somebody who was in leadership to record this, because nobody actually knew that it was true. Nobody witnessed these events. And nobody even should have known this, but it says according to the word of the Lord. So who in the world knew the events of Deuteronomy 34 and who recorded them? My point in saying this is that's not an account. Nobody in the world knew whether or not Deuteronomy chapter 34 was true. Nobody was there. It was true by their own writing according to the word of the Lord. Nobody knew whether that was an accurate account or not. There's many other things I could say about the body of Moses that actually contest that account somewhat. My point in saying that is this. Just because we want to say that something is an account, sometimes it requires a second look.
All right. Up to that point, where some revelation must have taken place for that to happen. Okay. Have you seen
revelation is different than an account. That's my point.
Exactly. So up to this point, which is the book of Deuteronomy on the 34th chapter, up to this point, do you trust the rest as being an account?
Well, it causes me to examine all of the books with a different attitude and to consider that if God allowed part of these first 5 books, part of these accounts, these Levitical books, if he allowed at least part of those to be based on revelation, why should I not re-examine all of those in the light of revelation?
When Jesus died.
Thank you, Ryan, for putting the books, by the way.
Wasn't
you're welcome, brother. Anything I can do to help.
Wasn't the world at that time being informed of where Jesus went by those that were outside his grave that then disappeared?
Yes.
Don't we have another revelational account, which is the book of Revelation, which we are actually seeing right now unfold, and it was written 2,000 years ago?
Yes.
So isn't that enough to prove that God would inspire somebody to fill in the gap of?
Well, do you have just a minute for me to comment on that? Because this honestly, I don't mean to belittle the rest of the conversation, because I appreciate your time and you're an awesome guy. But this is the first part of the conversation that I actually find particularly interesting.
Come on.
I'm just being honest. The scientific fields of the world are interesting to me as far as just being passively interesting. But the revelation of the scriptures is where my heart is. And
Amen.
This situation with Moses is very interesting indeed, because if we could veer off track a little towards theology, I would like to commentate on this a little bit.
We should, to lighten up the mathematical part at 5:55 where I am. So it's better to get there. Yeah.
Look, the minute you have to go, just let me know. I'm not going to hold you.
No, it's fine. I'm going to watch the sunrise. Don't worry about it. I'll sleep later. I'll sleep all day.
Lupin's right. This debate has gone all over the place. But
I've been sleeping all my life. I can take some time off sleeping. I mean, 35 years of sleeping before getting reborn was enough. I've rested. Okay, go ahead.
I can relate to that statement.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so this is interesting. The death of Moses is a very interesting thing in the scriptures. Ryan just held up a book that I wrote called Out of Egypt, and I have a whole chapter in that book dedicated to this subject. But so in Deuteronomy chapter 34, it says, and Moses, the servant of the Lord, died according to the word of the Lord. Now, that's the end of the sentence. If you know how to read it grammatically, it's not a second thought. According to the word of the Lord is the same thought in the sentence. Moses died according to the word of the Lord. He was buried in the valley, but no man knoweth the place of his sepulcher. So what he's saying, the writer is saying that God showed us the death of Moses. God revealed to somebody, whether it was Joshua, whether it was the high priest, we don't know. Whoever wrote Deuteronomy chapter 34, God revealed to somebody that Moses was not coming back from Mount Nebo and they needed to move on without him. That was necessary because they would never have moved on. They would have waited there until all of their bones laid in the sand for
Amen.
Moses to come down off of Mount Nebo. You understand the point I'm making here?
Definitely,
So
yes.
God revealed to them, Moses, my servant, is dead. Go hence and occupy the land. So Moses is an interesting figure because the next thing we hear about Moses is not the next thing. I'll skip the next thing for now. One of the next things that we hear about Moses is where one of the writers of the New Testament said, and even the devil, when he contended with Michael the archangel over the body of Moses, that Michael didn't bring against him a railing accusation, but he simply said, the Lord rebuked thee. And my question to people is always, why the body of Moses? Why not the body of Joshua? Why not the body of Isaiah? Why not the body of Jeremiah, John the Baptist? Why Moses? Why did the devil contend with Michael the archangel over the body of Moses? See, this is a very interesting question. I believe the answer to this question is in the Gospels. If you look in the book of Revelation, it speaks of the two witnesses in the tribulation period
Chapter
would
11.
Yes,
Yeah.
they would testify to Israel. And it says something about these two witnesses. The only hint that we get as to who they are, the only thing it says, and these are the two olive trees, the two witnesses that stood before the God of the earth.
Amen.
The only bit of hint that we get towards the identity of these witnesses is that they too stood before the God of the earth. And so I ask people sometimes, who are the only two men that we have any account of in all the scriptures who stood before the God of the earth? Who are they? Where do we see this? Where do we see two men that stood before the God of the earth? We see it on the Mount of Transfiguration. When Peter, James, and John were sitting there and they saw the Lord transfigured before their eyes, and they saw at his right and left hand Moses and Elijah. Now you'll remember that Elijah was caught away and did not die. And people say, well, Moses died. But that's not what it says. It says Moses died according to the word of the Lord, and nobody knows where he's buried. And the next thing we hear, the devil's arguing over his body. But these two witnesses stood before the God of the earth, which was the glorified Jesus Christ on the Mount of Transfiguration.
May
So
I ask something?
Go ahead.
May I ask, it is a little bit late for me to get into the book.
I'm sorry, I took off in theology.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm only saying that the fact that the book says that God they stood before the Lord of the earth. You are actually saying and agreeing that it doesn't mean God.
The God of the earth is the glorified Jesus Christ, what they saw on the Mount of Transfiguration. When we see Christ return in Revelation 19, the prophet Zechariah said that he was the Lord of hosts of Israel.
This is a completely different thing to discuss, but
Yes.
I think that according to the Bible, the Lord of the earth is Satan.
I understand the scripture that you're referencing, and I think you're wrong, but I understand why you're saying that, and you're right, that is a big subject.
So yeah, it is a little bit big to touch because even on what you just said, and Satan and God contested over the body of Moses, this means that Moses did stand in front of Satan.
There's no doubt that the body of Moses was tempting the devil, because here's the thing. The bodies decay, they fall apart, they deteriorate, they rot.
Yeah, they don't fossilize.
The body of Isaiah the prophet rotted away. The body of Joshua rotted away. But the body of Moses did not rot away. We see it right there with Elijah on the Mount of Transfiguration. So Satan had no power to deteriorate the body of Moses.
Okay, though, because this here is something we could make a Bible study out of, let me pull you back to the fact that just because we get some revelationary part on chapter 34 of the 5th book of Moses, doesn't take away the credibility of everything else before it, because it has been an account for us.
Well, you just got done saying that you were not very well versed in the first 5 books. So how do you know that all of that is an account?
Because I understand that their job is for us to have a historical account.
Whose job?
um, I said our job. I'm sorry, that was this is my brain farts right now. God wanted for humans to have a historical account of how things were and how it came to where we are today. So he gave us a historic account, and at some point, he filled in the gap with some parts of Revelation. But before the Deuteronomy and the 34th chapter of it, up to that point, does that fact change any of the credibility for you? Like
When you
maybe
say credibility, I don't believe that the purpose of those books is a historical account. So my credibility with those books is not based upon that thought.
Well, God, let me give you something from the Greek that just to we're giving each other gifts for the beautiful night.
Sure.
The word in the beginning was the word, but if you know the Greek word for word, you probably know it. It's logos.
Sure.
It doesn't only mean word.
Correct.
There is one other word out of the many meanings it has. First off, logic comes out of it. And the other meaning it has is purpose.
Yes.
So, because everything from God is logos and it is the word, there is purpose in everything that is being written in this book.
Sure. No, I agree with that, obviously.
So, the purpose of the first books is for us to know.
That is conjecture. That's where you lost me. You don't know that.
No, I'm adding up.
No, I'm saying you don't know that that was the purpose of those books.
Well, if it was, if it had another purpose, we would see all crazy different things happening. But we can verify, and with the help of pastors who have looked into it, and Dr. Hovin being one of them, that everything is getting verified scientifically too. One
Well,
thing
you don't trust in scientists, so how can you possibly believe that?
We trust in science, but we don't trust in scientists because
The scientists who are allegedly verifying this.
science, mathematics, chemistry, they cannot be altered.
Correct. Well, that's the reason we believe in trigonometry and outer space. Because math doesn't
Yeah. But scientists can be bought off. And when you work for money, you will do what your money is asking you to do because you too have children to feed.
You don't think that Christians try to offer grants to certain scientists to get the results that they want? You don't think money has infected that field of study?
I think that there's a lot more money being paid by Satan than by children of God. Yes, way more, way more. So,
are you aware that
I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. I'm sorry if you want to phrase again, or I can give you an example.
Most modern archaeologists do not believe that the children of Israel were ever in Egypt.
All right. I don't agree with
I'm
them.
not saying I don't believe that. I'm saying that if we're going to go with the modern science, they do not.
There is proof.
No, there's not.
Oh, there is. We have something that is called scuba diving. Have you heard of that?
Is this the whole thing with the charity wheels or the chariot wheels in the Gulf of Aqaba and all that?
First off, yes, that's where I was going with this.
There are no modern archaeologists that accept that that's true.
But we have pictures.
I know you say you have some pictures, but people who work in this field are not convinced.
Then we also have scanners. That's what I'm telling you. You live in the world of the liar. He is the Lord of this world, and he will do anything to hide the truth. So we know that the land that they crossed would have some proof, and that would be a pillar at the beginning of the crossing and a pillar at the end of the crossing. And we have found both of them.
I agree that the people that you are looking to for information claim they have found both.
No, I've seen pictures of people that have raised up the columns and they're standing by them. I've seen the pictures. I can look it up for you.
I've seen a lot of pictures. I saw one picture of Godzilla fighting Mothra.
That was no picture. That was CGI, computer generated imagery. Okay. Let me see if I can find this quickly.
My point is, your picture is not going to convince me. Photographs are very easy to manipulate.
Well, they weren't at some point. They weren't.
Do you accept that they weren't in the days of the moon landing?
You know, I'm a video editor, and I've been working on marketing with Photoshop and things like that, right?
Sure. I think you
So
mentioned it. Yes.
I can tell when something is faked, even though we are now at a position where you can fake some crazy stuff. Okay, but up to a point, up to some time, you couldn't. A picture was a picture.
But
Like
that
when
my point about
I
the
I,
moon landing was
I
in the
was
case of the moon
I,
landing, it was impossible to fake those pictures, but yet you don't believe in the moon landing.
no, I see the facts why they were faked.
No,
They,
they
were-
couldn't have been. The technology wasn't there. They could not have been faked.
no, they have been faked with older technology, and that's why we managed to see that they've been faked.
Now you're backtracking on your statement about the time that pictures couldn't have been faked.
Um, uh, that's because you're not seeing the picture yet, and you're only based on the fact that I said picture. So this picture and this picture are not faked. If you
According
wanna, if you wanna believe that everything I see is faked,
But Achilles, who says that's the pillar that the children of Israel set up? How do you know that?
because it was found.
But it does
si-
not say where the place of their crossing was in the Bible. So how do you know where to look for it?
it was found sideways, and people got there when they discovered it, and they raised it up, and then it fell again, I think.
But
Okay.
Achilles, the Bible does not record the place of their crossing. So how did you know where to look for a pillar?
Because we found it,
You
and then
found a pillar, yes.
yes, and then we
There's a lot
crossed
of pillars
over,
in that part of the world.
because on that specific spot,
But
the
there
sea
is
the
no specific spot mentioned in the Bible. That's my point.
hear me out. On the specific spot, I will say here where they have drawn the line. Okay, let me try to zoom in, and oh no, that was wrong. Let me try to open on a new tab. You Am I sharing my whole screen? So if I switch here, you can see this.
Yes, I can see it. Yes.
Okay, so right here where the crossing is, we found the pillar. So we
But you
cross.
say where the crossing is. It does not say in the Bible where the crossing was.
The Bible describes, and where our understanding of it was here where I'm showing where I'm
According
showing
to Achilles.
okay, wait, let me explain. Our understanding of it was here, but there was an assumption in that understanding, and the assumption was that man cannot walk very far, but they had 40 years. So the true spot is here, and they are mistranslating it in order to confuse us and think that it's here. So the true spot is here, and we found a pillar here, and then we crossed over and we found another pillar here. And then we looked at this spot, and we saw that although this is 200 meters deep, the sea rises, and it rises to 20 meters. And then it goes down again to 100 meters back here. So this is the spot that God told them to wait here. If you ask me how the waters went, and that is a completely other discussion. But the thing is that when we scuba dived down here, we found an army. I'm sorry, but I couldn't mute for this cough because I'm here. Um, we found an army which has gold-plated wheels,
But
and
why
no,
does any modern people who work in that field acknowledge that? That would be a major breakthrough, Achilles. Anybody would want to
it
be the
is, it is, and it is
but it's
being
not. It's not.
hidden. Uh,
That's such a ridiculous cop out.
No, it is being hidden from the world. Let me show you another thing that is being hidden from Saudi Arabia, which is the Rock of Moses. Let me see if it will be so easy to find. So you know the story, right? He hit the rock.
I am familiar with the story. Yes.
I understand. Okay, so for those hearing us, a lot of water came out in the form of a river. How many were the Jews? Do you remember the number, Christian? 10 million?
No, it
Or
wasn't 10 million. It was hold on.
I
I
think
think I think it was
40.
around 3 million.
So enough water should come out for 3 million people. That
Ryan,
is
you're picking some weird comments to highlight right now.
okay. In
Well,
order,
if someone says what I'm thinking, I have no choice but to highlight it.
so we found this.
It's the only way I can comment.
Okay,
I am familiar with this rock. Yes.
okay, and all the rocks down here show that there was water coming out. So behind this is a mountain. Oh, why can't I go back? Okay. If I manage to find the whole place, oh my God. So it is apparent that water, or let's say it's an assumption, but the rocks are kind of showing that there was some liquid coming through
I
here.
don't contest that could very well be the rock. My point to you is any archaeologist, secular or otherwise, would love to be the one to break that story. They certainly would not cover it up.
Well, those that are breaking this story out are not getting quote unquote peer reviewed by others, and it's not getting into
That's
magazines.
just not how the real world works, Achilles.
No, that's exactly how the
No, it's
real
not.
world
Everybody
works
has a
because
smartphone nowadays. Everybody has the internet. It would not be hard if an archaeologist had
because we have the internet. I can show this to you because we have the internet, but you
you
never
can
got
show
it
me
on a magazine.
picture and you can comment on the picture. I agree.
But you'd never show it on a magazine because the magazines are there to promote the evolution theory.
But they're not. They're just there to promote whatever they believe is true. They believe that the evolution theory is true, so they promote that. They just promote whatever they think is right.
Or what the money pays you to promote.
The money pays for research. The research confirms the evolution theory.
So I will give you an example about this because you've mentioned it like many times. Do you know the true story behind Lucy, the monkey that is supposedly an intermediate?
Are you speaking of one of the specimens known as Australopithecus afarensis?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So the guy who discovered it, the scientist, if you want to call him, who
Yes.
discovered it,
He's
what?
got too tired.
The dude, if that sounds better, the dude, or the liar, if you want a better word. So
I had no idea this would go this long.
I didn't either.
he was sent to that place to find to find a missing link.
Right.
Right when his money was running out, he found the missing link. What they won't tell us is that all the pieces were scattered around in an area of two miles.
They do tell us that actually.
What?
They do tell us that.
Okay, so this could be different parts of different monkeys that they put together. But what I'm trying to prove with that example is that when money pay you to discover something, you end up discovering it because you will not get any more money. Money leads the way.
I think
And
Chris
there,
was gonna get really
I'm
tired.
sorry to break it to anyone that doesn't know that, but yes, people would lie if the money is good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if people don't know that.
I like
What?
Lupin's idea of making closing statements and maybe following up sometime when everybody's fresher, just because this is just a whole nother thing that we're going to open into for another hour. Obviously, I believe that Australopithecus afarensis is a legitimate specimen.
Illegitimate. Oh, okay.
No, legitimate.
legitimate or illegitimate. Come on, I can't. The internet is betraying us here.
Australopithecines really existed.
I'm
Okay.
glad I took the day off tomorrow. I'm just going to say that.
I apologize, Ryan.
No, it's all right.
We'll disprove that when we have more time, because
I'd love to see it.
for me it's getting early in the morning. So yeah, may I start my concluding statement?
Please.
Um, the Bible is literal, not on the parts that are metaphorical, and it's obviously metaphorical, but on the historical account, it is literal. The world has been a 6-day creation, and it is telling us that this world will end because it belongs, its Lord is the liar, and the liar wouldn't want you to have the truth. It is also telling us that the love for money is the root of all evil, and they have gotten a lot of money, and there are a lot of universities behind it. Yes, there are a lot of scientists behind it, and all one needs to do is follow the mathematics. And if they do, they will see that nothing adds up. They never add up. So we have a whole theory that is made to disprove the credibility of the Bible, and there are a lot of people involved. And these start from Hutton, Lyell, the lawyer, Darwin, and Haeckel, and we went all the way to today, where people have doubted the Bible so much because they are being deluded by people telling them, don't believe the Bible, believe me and the scientific method. And the proof that I have for that is that science is supposed to be to scientifically try to prove what you just said, but they told you in 2020, just trust the science. Don't look into it, trust it. Trusting is faith, and you have another faith to replace the Bible. I'm not saying the Bible is not is faith, it is faith, but they are saying that they are science. But trust us. No, that's faith too. If it's science, my scientific degree should be good to verify it. And they don't. They never add up. So either I'm not good at math, either I shouldn't have the telescope that I have, or, not deal with computers, and I should only deal with the Bible. But I went at the Bible, I arrived at the Bible through the scientific method. Everything points to it. And we will continue another day. So, your turn.
Thank you very much. Okay, so
Chili's.
my closing statement is as follows. The scripture says the heavens declare God's handiwork. The heavens say that things are expanding, which means that God's handiwork is the Big Bang. And this is confirmed in another scripture where it says that God stretched out the heavens, which is a prophetical utterance about the discovery of the Big Bang, which would be 3,000 plus years later. So there are multiple passages of scripture that prove that the discovery of redshift and expansion were prophesied in the Bible and should be interpreted as confirmations of the Bible. You can make similar arguments for biology and everything else. This idea of looking at everything in the world through a lens of conspiracy limits your ability to allow God to speak to you through the natural allegories of the things in the world that really do exist, such as Australopithecines. They're real. There's a whole bunch of them. There's not just one or two. There's a bunch of them.
Okay. Next time we'll start there. Next time I'll remember to start there.
Sure.
It was an honor, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Army salute here too, but I don't have a camera. Thank you,
Christian,
Ryan.
were you finished? Did you have more to say in your closing statement?
No, that was all I had.
Okay.
Thank you, Ryan, for your patience with us.
Yeah, both of you did a wonderful job, and you were very polite. You were respectful. I didn't have to silence anybody or anything like that.
I apologize for the couple of times that I did get aggravated.
It's okay.
It's
It's
all right,
okay.
brother.
I mean,
It's
you,
all right.
you did. You guys, you made me feel like Donnie Jr. And I, this turned out to be a very an awesome broadcast, and I do hope and pray people were blessed by it, and in the future, when they watch it in the future, that they will be blessed by it and ministered to, because that's why we're all here,
Amen.
is to spread God's word, and spread Him to as many people as we can. So I want to thank those that were in the chat. We had a lot of interesting comments that were made. It was very lively in the chat. I found.
I will check it out now because I
Yeah,
haven't. I'm too focused on this discussion in
yeah,
order
that's fine.
to, and
I mean,
I didn't check it at all. I want to add something which is not about the
okay.
debate. It's not about the debate, so I'm not gonna try to say something over the concluding statement. Okay, we're done with the whole discussion. I just want to add that Jesus is the truth. So the more we are struggling to understand the truth, the
Mm-hmm.
closer we're getting to Him.
I would
Amen.
say and amen that.
Amen.
So because we are brothers, we're not going to fight on this.
No.
We are all working to discover the truth. I
Yeah.
hope that the audience learned what it did, and they have their own mind to see what is the truth, what is not. I want to add to anybody in the comments that might be thinking of that, because sometimes we get trolls in the comments. I haven't checked, but there are
Ah,
trolls. I know how they think. So I just want to say something that my degree is from the University of La Verne in California. So they can check that one to see if it's accredited enough for them.
okay.
All right.
Thank you, Achilles, and I hope you can sleep today. For you, it's today, but for
Yes.
Christian and I, who live fairly close to one another, it's nighttime, and I think both of us want to get ready for bed.
It was an honor, brothers.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you so much. I will talk to
Yeah.
you soon.
All right. God bless all of y'all, everybody here.
Want
I'm
to end with
ending.
a prayer, Ryan?
I can do that. I certainly can.
Please.
Dear Lord, I just want to thank you for this time that we had together, this 2 hours and 45 minutes of just speaking of the things of you, Lord, speaking of your word, speaking of how you miraculously created us in this universe, Lord. Um, we can have friendly debates about that, but we all put you at the center. You are at the top and the center of our universe. Um, we love you more than above everyone else. And we can disagree about things, but we don't disagree about you. And I just thank you for allowing us this opportunity. And I pray that people will be blessed. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
See you tomorrow, everyone.